Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel I like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, blush, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except pressed glitter, and today we're going to do a quick ranking of all the palettes that I used in November. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me, we're getting into it right now. So in the month of November, I only ended up using 8 palettes, and 3 of them were custom designed, but because they were custom designed based on very specific palettes, they were sort of my BYOP version. I did go ahead and include them because I did use them several times this month, and otherwise I rarely touched some of these other palettes, so I wanted to make sure that I was including everything that I was using this month. Coming in at number 8 is the Nude Ego Power Play by BH Cosmetics. I got this palette ages ago, and I used it a couple times. I really stuck to sort of these like mauvey pinky shades over here, not too much with the warm tones over here. I mean, it's all kind of warm, but not too much with like the orangey tones on this side. And like that 12 pan I really like. I think that's really nice quality, and these shades have very like beautiful kind of like sparkly quality to them, but I just don't find myself going back to it very often, so it's one that I think is somewhat forgettable in my collection, so it came in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 and 6 are 2 of the Unearthly palette dupes that I put together, and so this is the Fall Magic palette, and then this is the Sorcerer Smoke palette dupes, and I do have videos on my channel showing you swatches of these. I list out all the singles that I used, and I have a look with each of these palettes, so if you're interested you can definitely check that video out. But as far as the palettes, I would say probably coming in at 7 would be the Fall Magic palette, and the reason for that is with this particular palette, even though I got pretty close to all of the shades, I still feel like it's sort of a hard palette for me to kind of put things together with. I feel like it relies a lot on neutrals in order to kind of make everything else work. Otherwise you're kind of sticking to just greens, just reds, or you have to use the neutrals to sort of force everything else to stick together. And I'm really glad that I didn't buy the Fall Magic palette, because I think I would have been disappointed, even though looking at the pictures, oh my god, the pictures sell me. But actually having the palette or a version of the palette in front of me, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And then coming in at number 6 would be Sorcerer's Smoke, which is this palette here. And again, I think it does lean neutrals, but because there's so much like peachiness in here, and then you have kind of these swampy green, brown, pukey kind of shades, I think that all works together and ties together a bit more cohesively than the Fall Magic palette. And then I like these 2 shades for sort of a pop of contrast within the rest of the palette, whereas this one I feel like just has a lot of contrast going on and not a whole lot of cohesiveness. Alright, coming in at number 5. I didn't think this was going to be down as low as it is, but this is the Siren Sunset from Lunar Beauty. And this particular palette looks like this. Now, this is a beautiful palette. I will admit, it is a beautiful palette. I love the packaging. I like the color story a lot. I do think that some of these shades, like, I'm not sure we needed all 4 of these sort of like matte neutrals. And had we gotten rid of some of those, I think we could have put a couple extra like lighter toned matte colorful shades, because when you have this purple, you have this blue, and you have like this aqua kind of teal color, there's nothing really to blend that out with, so you have to kind of blend it out with itself, and it doesn't work very well. So I find myself either having to look for another palette to sort of blend those shades out, or I just leave them very high contrast in the outer part of my eye, and I think it just looks a little interesting. The multichrome formula, I think this was the first multichromes that we've seen from Lunar Beauty, and it's not as thin as Martine Cosmetics multichromes, but it is definitely on the thinner side, and I don't find them as like buttery and pleasant to use as like my Cleona, my Terra Moon, my Copacetic, my Shine by SD. Like, there's so many other indie brands that I think just give you a better like feel to the shadows, and I think they give better opacity, whereas these I feel like you have to put in a lot of work and it still kind of looks flat. Like, there's not as much dimension with these. So that's why this one came down a little low. All right, coming in at number 4, this is the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette, and I picked this up during Sephora VIP sale. I don't think I've touched these 6 shades over here, and I don't care. I would have been happy with that. Like, that is all I needed. That I think I would have been even more excited about than that, but that's okay. I loved this. This shade is so special. It's got this kind of like red, burgundy, purple sort of duochrome effect, which I really like. I like how glittery these 2 shades are on the eyes. They look phenomenal. This shade here, the metallic quality, definitely adds a lot of shine, a lot of visual interest, and I think you have a good like range of depth with your shades. This shade down here is like a cream, and I did not use it at all. There is a little bit of fallout from other shades in that. It's not like mold or anything that's growing, but at least I hope not, because it's literally, I just bought this. But anyway, I could have done without that whatever liner shade or base shade or whatever she was trying to go with there. I think, you know, another matte or another like sparkly shade would have been really cool. I like even this shade here, which is sort of just like your basic metallic kind of shade. But all in all, I think the colors work really nicely together. In general, I think this is a really nice palette. I think it works really well for those of us that have cooler undertones. It gives you a nice like smoky eye. You can also make something that's a little more light to mid-tone so that you don't have to go quite so dark. But of course, you know me, I'm over the top at all times. Coming in at number 3 is the other palette that I duped out from Unearthly. And this was duping out their Dreamer palette, which is the winter launch for this year. And again, swatches, the shade names, the eye look are all available in that video. But this color story I really liked. These sort of like corally peachy shades combined with the cool toned like navy blue. This shade is taupey, but it has like blue sparkles running through it. And then you have this sort of quad of like deep smoky gray. Like, this just works so nicely together. I was really impressed with this palette, and I had a hard time not continuing to use this all throughout the month. The last ones to talk about are these giant big boys from P. Louise, and this is the first time I've tried P. Louise, but I put this one in at number 2. This is the Hocus Pocus Regain Focus. It has this side, which of course you guys know is not like my super fave, but the look that I did when I used this side was like this deep burgundy smoked out look, and I actually really liked that look, so much so that I recreated it to go to work. And then the other side of this palette I like a lot, because you have this wonderful 9 pan of purple shades and then a 9 pan of sort of chartreusey, pukey greens. Very, very nice. I love the formulas. They're very pigmented. The metallics are very like slippery and buttery to use. I would say if I had to compare them to somebody, I would say probably like a Beauty Bay type formula. And overall, you know, I'm not a huge fan of like the enormousness of the packaging, but I do think the overall concept is cute, and I like that she did individual like designs in each of the pans, because I feel like then you kind of get your money's worth, right? Because like when you spend the amount of money you spend on these palettes, you want to know that you didn't just pay for this outside box, you know? All right, and then coming in at number 1 was Droplet of Magic, and I knew when I started playing with this palette this was going to end up being my favorite palette. Again, I love the purples. The reds are not necessarily my like end all be all, but I do really like the way that those colors go together. And then this front part, a moment of silence for how beautiful this front part is. Okay. Yeah, I was super impressed. I love this very deep emerald green. It reminds me of like Empire from ColourPop. You have this really beautiful like duochrome blue, this very, very lightly minty kind of metallic shade here, and then you've got like a pure white metallic here. You've got plenty of grays, and then leading into these like teals and mints. I just think this color story was really cool, and I think it's something that's a little different, right? Because like we see rainbow palettes all the time, and although between these 2 palettes you definitely have a rainbow, I feel like they kind of divided it up in a way that makes it more interesting and more like Halloween vibes. And with that said, that is everything for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!